Understanding how document elements and metadata work are important to understanding how Unstructured adds value and context to the output. Here's an example of what an element might look like. As you can see, every element has a type, an element ID, the extracted text, and some metadata. This metadata can vary depending on the element type, file structure, and any additional settings that are applied later on in the workflow. Optionally, the element can also have an embeddings derived from the text, and the length of this embeddings field depends on the embedding model that's used. Each element represents a portion of the incoming data. For example, a paragraph in a file, or a table, an email address, and so on. Here are some examples of the element types that your files might contain. These include images, headers, list items, page breaks, tables, and a base element called uncategorized text for capturing free text from within files. Let's go take a look at some of these elements now. Alright, I've gone ahead and sent a PDF file that I got off of an academic website into Unstructured. Unstructured has processed this PDF file on the left and output the results here on the right. Let me quickly scan through this PDF and show you what it contains. There are headers, titles, paragraphs, page numbers, bulleted lists, images, footnotes, hyperlinks, tables, mathematical symbols, equations, some fairly dense tables here, some dense diagrams, a list of references, and so on. Scrolling back to the top, you'll notice, for example, there's a header with some information here. This information is captured in a document element. Its type is, as you would expect, a header. A unique element ID is generated for this document element. Here's the text. We'll skip the metadata for now. Let's look at some of the other elements. Here's a table, and as you can notice, here's the element for that table. We've extracted not only the text of the table itself, but we've also provided a representation of the table as HTML. This is in the metadata field, and again, we'll get to this metadata later. Let's look at some other elements. Here's a figure caption for the table. Here's an image that was detected. Again, here's the image, and here's the text. Also, the coordinate points of where the image was detected, top left, top right, lower left, and lower bottom coordinates are also captured. The pixel space will tell you the width and height of the detected area, and there's also a base 64 encoded string that represents the image. Now let's go talk about metadata. Metadata, which is information about the data, in this case the document elements that Unstructured extracts, is helpful because it allows you to find information more quickly and also provide more context for things such as retrieval augmented generation, or RAG. Metadata is contributed by a number of factors, and these can be things such as file type, partitioning strategy, and if a data connector is involved. Let's look at some of these common metadata types. Things such as category depth can tell you the relationship of document elements to each other. Things like coordinates can give you the information about any XY bounding boxes that are detected. Information such as file name, file type, parent ID, and so on can give you more information about the document element itself. In addition to category depth, parent ID can tell you which elements that a child element is derived from or related to. Different file types can also contribute metadata. For example, an email can contribute metadata, such as a CC or BCC recipient. For HTML, linked texts and link URLs can be extracted. Word files can contribute headers and footers. Table-specific metadata can be produced. For example, here's the text of an element, and the text as HTML metadata field can give you an HTML representation of that table. If a source connector is connected to a data source, data connector metadata fields can also be emitted. Finally, if you're using a VLM partitioner, An HTML representation of the unstructured elements are also produced. Let's go take a look at some of these now. All right, we're back to our PDF that was processed earlier. Let's take a look now at the metadata that was generated. In this element, we see the coordinates with the points in the pixel space, as was covered earlier. We also see the file type, any languages that were detected, the page number, the file name, the type of partitioner that was used, and so on. Now let's switch to using VLM. I've now reprocessed this PDF by using a VLM partitioner instead of a high-res partitioner. You can see that there's different metadata that's added. For example, text as HTML is now added for each element. You'll also get category depth and parent ID. Of course, the partitioner type now shows VLM partition. If this were, for example, an email instead of a PDF file, you'd see different metadata for that as well. So you should now have a good understanding of how unstructured document elements and metadata work. Feel free to experiment with your own files to see the different results.